Hello everyone. As part of this video lecture, okay, in continuation of the video lectures on rock mechanics and strata control, as part of this video lecture, I'm going to cover uh, the second part of chapter 2. So this must be second. Yes, the second part of it. Okay, fifth chapter, second part, I'm going to cover as part of this video lecture. Okay, let's move on. Okay, let's recap what we had discussed in the last video lecture. In last video lecture, we had discussed the following topics, like what exactly the purpose of supporting. Then we discussed about the classification of supporting systems. Like it is based on like whether the supports are going to different. There are different what you call the there are different factors that we need to consider to classify these supporting systems basically, like whether the supports are used going to use the permanently in a given location, or whether they are of what you call the semi-permanent, or whether they are of what you call just for a temporary purpose. So depending on the duration, like we need to provide the what you call the supporting system, and we have classified the supporting systems into three categories. And again, the supporting systems are again further classified based on the type of material that is used to carry out the supporting, like whether what do you call, whether we'll be using wooden prop or the steel prop or any masonry type of construction, or any brick wall kind of thing, like depending on the type of materials. Okay, the supports are further classified. Okay, like that, we discussed what are the different classification of the supporting systems. And under the classification, again, the like in the supports, in the props, there are two types. One is of what, rigid props, and second one is what, yield prop. So in case of rigid prop, basically, like what you call, whenever the load acting on the prop exceeds its capacity, it won't yield. What here, like actually, what we had discussed, what exactly the yield means. Yield is nothing but, yield behavior is nothing but whenever the load acting on the prop exceeds its capacity. Okay, what do you call it, it is supposed to what you call continue bearing the same load without failure. Such a behavior of the prop is called yield behavior, nothing but it is still carrying the maximum load, but but there is some kind of what you call the deformation, but it won't leads to failure. So such behavior is called what you call the yield behavior. Whereas in case of rigid prop, right, whenever the load acting on the prop exceeds its capacity, okay, when the load acting on the prop exceeds its capacity, it will break. Such a behavior is called what you call the rigid prop. Such a behavior of the props are known as rigid props. Whereas the yield prop is nothing but, as I said, right, is whenever the load acting on the prop exceeds its maximum of its capacity, it will continue carrying the same load without failure. Such a behavior is called yield prop. Coming to the examples of what you call the rigid props, like whatever the what you call wooden props, steel props, they comes under the category of what you call rigid props. Next, the examples of yield props are hydraulic prop, friction prop, etc., which will what you call yield when the load acting on the prop exceeds its capacity. Then we also discussed about the load yield properties of rigid prop versus and rigid prop, as well as yield props or hydraulic props. Then we discussed about, or like what you call the how to install the what you call the installation of the supports under various mining conditions, like the types of props, right, like a timber or steel or iron prop, and like installation of wooden props under various mining condition, because in underground mines, right, the height of the roof, it might not be uniform in all the places. Like it varies sometimes, some location it might what you call up to a height of, let's say, 3 meters. In few of the places it is 3.5 meters, and sometimes it may exceed up to 4 or 4.5 meters. So depending on the situation, right, we need to install the type of, we need to choose the corresponding supporting system and install it. So in the, as part of this topic, we discussed installation of wooden props under various mining condition, like what you call the, with the varying with respect to varying the height of the roadway. Next, we also discussed about the installation of cog, chalk, chalkmate. See, chalk, cog or chalk is the terminology used in case of what you call coal mines, whereas the chalkmate is the terminology used in case of metal-ferrous mines. So this kind of supporting system is used. If the area of area is supposed to be the area of an opening, which is supposed to be supported or which is supposed to be provided with some kind of supporting system, okay, is of larger one, and then like we need to provide what you call this kind of supporting system. Okay, they are known as what you call cog, chalk or chalkmate. Okay, and we also discussed about the applicability. As I said, right, it requires what you call the larger area of supporting. If it requires a larger area to be supported, and then the roof and the what roof is very weak, okay, and if it is a kind of friable, still you wanted to support it, then we will go for this kind of supporting system. Then we also discussed about method of supporting roadway junction. This I did not cover because due for want of time. Okay, I just missed this part. Let me remove this. Okay, let's see. Let's move on. Okay. Now, yeah, that's what I said. Okay, as part of this video lecture, I'm going to cover the following topics. One is what you call the supporting of roadway junction. Then we'll be discussing about the roof stitching. Okay, like how exactly the what they call roof stitching using cables, okay, is being carried out, and what exactly the principle behind its application, and what are the locations what they call where the roof stitching is can be this roof stitching methodology can be effectively used. Next topic I'm going to cover is roof bolting. Like as part of this, like we'll be discussing what exactly the principle of roof bolting, and what are the different theories behind the implementation or adaptation of roof bolting. Next, merits and demerits of roof bolting. So as part of roof bolting, we'll be discussing these topics. Then we'll discuss about the construction details of friction prop. Then next, construction details, how exactly what are the what you call the construction features of friction prop and how it works. Okay, then we'll be discussing about the construction details of hydraulic prop. So what are the construction details and and its principle of working. If time permits, then I'll be covering these two topics, like what you call the procedure to clearing up a roadway junction if there is a heavy roof fall. Like what procedure we need to adapt, like in a junction, in a roadway junction, this is a sudden collapse of the heavy roof fall. Then what methodology we need to adapt it, or what systematic procedure that we need to adapt to clear the debris. Okay. Next one, the last topic is withdrawal of supports using Sylvester prop withdrawal. Like basically, right, whatever what you call the wooden props that we'll be using, or sometimes even the steel props also, we can reuse them in a different location. Like, okay, suppose let's say I have carried out the mining activity, and in that particular location, the entire coal seam or entire panel has been extracted. Okay, and I'm coming out of this one, and I'm coming out of that particular panel, and very soon I'm going to close that. So there is no point, keeping those props which were installed for supporting purpose, keeping them in their what you call the GOF area or in the abandoned area. So in such a situations, right, you need to what you call, to the possible extent, we need to take out those props which are of no use, and then we can reuse them in a different location. So in order to withdraw the supports which were present, in a what you call the decold area or in a remote location, okay, we'll be using what Sylvester prop withdrawal. So as part of this topic, we'll be discussing about how exactly the Sylvester prop withdrawal works and how it is being attached to the prop for its withdrawal. Okay, let's move on. Method of supporting a roadway junction. Okay, this is a roadway junction basically. Let me use this. So this is a roadway junction. One like this. Right? 4 places. So that's why it is called junction. So how this portion is being supported? Because it is being used for the movement of machinery like this direction, this direction. Basically, it used for frequent movement, right? Like this also, or like this also. Any direction, we can make a movement, right? So it must be what? There should not be any obstruction for the movement, right? So because since it's a junction, So in such a situation, how the supporting system has to be what you call the established, or the supports has to be erected in a roadway junction. Okay, let's see. When the roof of a roadway is bad, sorry, when the roof of a roadway is bad over a small, so over some distance. Okay, so basically what we will be doing here is bars, crossbars. Okay, some distance, bars resting on holes of a coal pillar. I tightened against the roof by wooden lagging, because these are the different bars. Okay, what we are saying is different bars here. Okay, so different bars. Okay, so these are the bars, and those parts are tightened against the roof by means of wooden lining. See here, where the roof of a roadway is bad over some distance, the bars resting on holes, because holes will be drilled into the sides of the roadway, right? Uh, Resting in holes of coal pillars and tightened against the roof by wooden landings may be erected at an interval of 2 to 3 meters. If the core pillars are not strong, suppose let's say if the sides are not strong, then what to do? Right? I cannot go ahead and dig a what you call a hole into it, and forcibly I can keep what you call the wooden bar crossbar into it, and which again can be tightened against this one, because if itself weak, there is no point adapting that kind of methodology. So if the coal pillars are not strong enough, or the roadway is through a fault zone, the wooden bars are supported by timber props. Yes, there are timber props. Or in this case, right, they have used chalks here. Okay, yeah, chalks are crossbar. Chalks are cog or chalks, right? Yes, these are this one. Okay, let's see. See this. This is the one. This is the one. This is the one. This is the one. Okay, so if the pillars are not strong enough, or the road is through fault zone, the wooden bars are supported on timber props. Okay, that's how it is. Okay, this is how the roadway junction is being supported. So let's clear this. One second, clear all drawing. Let's move on. Okay, so this is a common practice where the roof pressure is likely to be heavy. Bars roof pressure is likely to be heavy. Bars may be supported on timber chalks. Okay, no prop should be erected at a place where they are likely to be dislodged by the moving or derailed, because it has to be what you call the surface has to be whatever the supporting system that we adapt near to the junction, it should not become an obstacle for the movement of the machinery. So that's what it is. So the bars may sometimes be placed on brick walls, constructed on solid foundation of coal pillar with a 150 layer of concrete at the base. So that's what. Next, let us discuss about the roof stitching. What exactly the roof stitching is? So basically, it is something like it works based on the principle of combining different layers of the strata, so that it will form a what you call some kind of composite beam, or at suspending some weak layers to the strong upper layers of the strata, which is the same as that of what you call roof bolting principle. But only thing is here we'll be using what you call the rope cable, what you call the cable we'll be using. Okay, stranded wire rope that will be using it, and which will be what you call used to cover a larger portion of the area, so by stitching kind of thing. So roof stitching is a method of roof support which has been tried in our minds with encouraging results. In a gallery, two slant holes, it is something like what, how exactly it works. So let us say, right there. something like, okay, let me write here. Let's say this is the opening you made it. And these are different layers of the strata. Yeah, what I'll bring is, let me take little thicker one. Okay. Slant hole is drilled, something like this. Slant hole, which makes some angle of from 60 degrees or 35 degrees, something like this. So into this, what we'll be doing here, we are going to place say this here, roof cable into this. What cable does? It provides some kind of support here. So this is how it works. Okay. So let's see here. Let me clear this. Okay. Look at here. Uh, the roof stitching is a method of roof support which has been tried in our minds with encouraging results. In a gallery, two slanting holes are drilled by usual coal drill. So nothing but two holes like this. It will be like this. This is one hole. This is another hole, right? Okay. Slanting holes are drilled by a usual coal drill in roof. The holes are about what? 1.4 meters to 1.5 meter deep. The depth of the hole is this much. Okay. To fit the hole, a wire gauge or 10-meter mesh made from the tube open at one end. Okay, in that like some mesh kind of thing will be placed into that, so that we can place any grouting material into this. In the tube, wire gauge is a viscous cement mortar is filled up to 3/4 of its length. It is being completely filled with that. Okay. Next, the wire gauze is inserted into the hole in the roof. Okay. Next, what we will do now, since cementing material is being placed into the hole, then we need to what you call insert wire rope into it, right? So old wire rope of 18 mm to 22 mm diameter is cut into suitable length to cover the depth of the hole, to cover the depth of two holes, and the distance between them. That much length we need to take it, and each end of the rope is prevented from untwisting. Okay, by typing with the binding wire, because what you call we need to what you call the wrap the rope with the binding wire so that it won't get uncoiled. The wire rope is then inserted into the cement mortar of the wire gauge tube held in the holes. It will be forcibly inserted into these holes. Okay, that's how what you call it is being initially it is being carried out. Okay, let's move on. Next, the principle of working of roof bolting. So look at here. The principle of working a roof bolting is same as that of that for roof. Principle of working of roof stitching is same as that of roof bolting. Okay, the immediate rocks are held together by a composite stratum of large thickness. That's what it is. So it will be they are held because it will form a composite beam kind of thing. So that they are all what you call by stitching kind of thing, or by inserting the what you call the wire rope with along with the grouting material, right? We are going to combine all the top upper layers. Okay, so the pairs of holes for the roof stitching are drilled at 1 to 1.3 meters interval, and the roof stitching serves as a substitute for the conventional supports by the set of timber props and bars. The roof gives appearance as if it has been stitched. The wooden, because once no, like what do you call let's say here, let us say, okay, so these are the top layers. Okay, next these are all the holes so that has been drilled into this. Let's say like this. This is a rope of it. It is something that slant holes of length how much? 1.2 to 1.5 5 meters length. That's what the length of this one is 1.2 to 1.5 meters length. So that's what it is. So 1.2 to 1.5 meters length. So that much I'm going to keep it here. Okay. Next, this has to be tightened, right? How it will be tightened? By means of wooden loggings. Wooden loggings is nothing but something like this have been placed here. This is a one wooden logging. This is another wooden logging. So it will be tightened, right? So that it will be tightened into vertical against the roof. See, the wooden loggings, that's what it is. So the wooden loggings are placed between the roof and the sagging portion of the wire, where the roof is bad. Okay, sagging portion of the wire. Where the roof is bad, sometimes an extra hole is drilled into the middle of the gallery, and the wire rope is inserted into it in the same manner as in the inclined hole. Sometimes, what exactly it means? It is being carried out in number of stages, like up to certain portion, one wire rope and up to another portion. Instead of vertical, two inclined holes at the both ends, right? In the middle, we can drill one hole, one vertical hole, and one side one inclined and one vertical hole, and another side vertical, again the inclined one and the middle vertical hole. Like that, we can carry out in stages this roof stitching operation if the roof is very bad. Okay, let's move on. Okay. See here, this is what it is. These are kind of holes that are being drilled into the roof. See, this is one hole, and this is another hole. The grouting material is placed inside this hole. And whatever the verticals are, wire rope that we have, right? Like this. Okay, here. So these are all called wooden loggings. So these wooden loggings are used to tighten this rope against the roof. Okay, see here. As this is done, some of the cement mortar in the wire gas is squeezed out of the container and filled up the hole. The wire rope is held in position by hammering, and a wedge at the mouth of the hole. Here, whatever the wedge that we kept it, and a wedge at the mouth of the hole. The assembly is allowed to set for 24 hours, and thereafter the cement mortar becomes sufficiently hard so that the wire rope does not come out of the hole, even if the sagging middle portion is pulled out by hard. Okay, even if you pull out this also, it won't come out of this because it has been tightened very hard by using cement mortar. Okay, now we can by using wooden leggings, we can tighten this particular we can tighten the rope against the roof. So that's what it is. Clear. Okay. Look at here. The pair of holes for roof stitching is drilled at 1 to 1.5 meter, 1.3 meter interval, and so the pair of holes for roof stitching are drilled at 1 to 1.3 meter interval, and the roof stitching serves as a substitute for the conventional support by set of conventional support is nothing but what the kind of what you call set of timber props are, or the steel prop or the bar that we'll be using. It is what you call the roof stitching is a substitute for that. The roof gives appearance as if it has been stitched. Next, wooden laggings are placed between the roof and the sagging portion of the wire. Where the roof is bad, sometimes extra holes, that is vertical holes drilled in the middle of the gallery. This I already covered as part of the previous slide. Okay, middle of the gallery, and the wire rope is inserted into the same manner as in the inclined holes. The next one, the principle of roof stitching is same as that of for roof bolting. That which that is the immediate roofs, immediate rocks are the portion of immediate roof are held together as a composite stratum of large thickness. Okay. Next, to make this roof stitching effective, it is recommended that the face should not advance more than 2.4 meters from the last tension rope, because it has to be, because this particular portion has to be stabilized. Then only it will start carrying the load, right? It requires minimum of what you call 24 hours for what you call the for fixing of the wire rope using mortar cement, right? So till that we need to elapse that particular that much amount of time. So the face should not advance more than 2.4 meters from the last tension rope. Okay. and the short rope should be used in between long ropes for further reinforcing to prevent bed separation. Okay. Next, ropes should be tensioned. Ropes should be tensioned using by using what wooden sleepers or wooden laggings, where the roof condition deteriorates immediately after blasting. The roof stitching and in case what you call if the condition is if it is subject to some kind of disturbances in such a situation, what you call see here, rope should not be tensioned uh, while using good wooden sleepers. Uh, rope should be tensioned using wooden sleepers, where the roof condition deteriorates immediately after blasting. So where there is a weak kind of thing, then the roof stitching should not be tried. Okay. So let's move on. Next, we'll that is about the roof stitching. Next, we'll discuss about what we call the roof bolting. So, what exactly is the roof bolting, and what are the different types of roof bolts, and what are the basic different principles involved? Okay, in the implementation of roof bolting. Okay, roof bolting is used under the following conditions. Okay, where exactly roof bolt will be used? If the roadway used for the movement of machinery, because it should not become an obstacle for the movement of machinery. There must be free passage for the movement of machinery or ventilation, whatever the movement that we wanted to movement of whatever the movement that is there in the roadway. Right, this supporting system it should not become an obstacle for them. So roadways used for the movement of machinery. Okay. Next, if the strength of overlying layers of the strata is strong, it is very strong, and we can what you call the combine them together so that you can form a let's say if the whatever the layers that we have. Okay. Anyway, we'll discuss this in detail in the coming slides. Let us say you have the opening. Look at here. This is the opening I made it. Okay. This is what the let us say these layers are very strong. Let me put it this way. These layers are very strong. Just to distinguish, I'm using the let me use different color. Let's say, yeah, these layers are very strong. It's a kind of very strong layer. Okay, and these layers are weak. Then what we will do now? I'll use a support, or I'll use a kind of what you call bolt kind of thing, so that like which will be inserted, or these will be hanged against that. Sorry, I have drawn this in between. It should not be like this, like this, like this. So what happened now? This because I am joining these two what you call layers into the vertical or clamping them into the vertical the strong or the solid upper layers, right? So that it will bomb what they are what you call they're hanged against the hanged into the strong layer, so that it so there will not be any kind of what you call the deformation between the layers. So this is what exactly this is also known as the suspension theory, which we'll be discussing in the coming slides. Okay, so let's see. The roadway used for it is used basically used for the movement of machinery. If the strength of the overlaying layers are of the strata is strong, if they are strong, then we can go ahead and adapt the roof bolting kind of thing. And what are the immediate weak layers? They can be vertical hanged, or they can be vertical pinned, or they can be hanged into the strong layers by using roof bolts. Next one, for quick supporting of the roadway. Next, it is used in a roadway junction, which you use for the movement of machinery. Of course, the same point got repeated here. So these are the applicable conditions of roof bolting. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, next roof. What exactly this one? The term roof bolting is applied to the practice of drilling vertical holes into the roof and fixing steel bolts into them in such a manner that the rope that the bolts grip the strata and support the immediate roof. What is immediate roof now? Whenever you make the opening, the layers of strata which is present above the opening, they are known as what? Immediate roof. Okay, so the bolted roof strata behave as one thick beam capable of supporting not only their own weight but also but the not only their own weight but also the weight of the strata. But also because not only right, okay, yeah. But also the weight of the strata. So next, what are the different theories based on which this roof bolting roof bolting is being adopted in mines? Okay, there are different theories which basically explain the principle of roof bolting. First one is the suspension theory, and the second one is beam theory. Third one is keying theory. These are all the three different theories of what we call the principles on which the roof bolting depends. Okay, first one is the suspension theory. So in this theory, look at here what exactly it says. In this theory, the immediate roof layers, which are weak in strength, which are weak in strength, can be joined or suspended against strong above layers. As a result, there will not be any separation between the layers of the strata. That's why this theory is called suspension theory. I repeat, in suspension theory or in this theory, the immediate roof layers which are weak in strength can be joined or suspended against the above layers. As a result, there will not be any separation between the layers of the strata. So let's move on. Okay, this is what exactly it is. Look at here. This diagram clearly explains what exactly what we call the suspension theory. This is suspension theory. The top. Okay, what exactly here? Look at here. You have got a coal pillar here, and you have got a coal pillar here. These are all the weak layers. You have got it, and this is what you call the strong layer, which is what you call present above these weak layers. Now, what I'm doing now, it is something like what? Using this roof bolt, I'm clamping these bolts all together and vertical hanging them against the or suspending them against the strong, suspending them into the what you call or clamping them into the strong top layers. Am I right? So that's why it's nothing but why suspension theory. Here we are suspending all these weak layers in the form of a composite beam and against the what you call the strong layer. So that's why this theory is known as suspension theory. So since the top strong layers will take care of the movement of the strata, there will not be any movement, so that there will not be any separation between the layers of the strata. So this is a kind of what you call the theory that is being involved. Okay, in during the usage of while adopting the technology of what you call roof bolting or during usage of roof bolting. The first theory is what? The suspension theory. Second one is beam theory. So what exactly difference between them? Look at here. As we know, right, each layer, see the top layers or immediate roof layers are there of weak. So individually they are weak, but here the top layers are not that much strong. So that I can go ahead and suspend them, or they're not reachable, they're not in my reach. Then what to do now? Whatever the weak overlying layers, which are of weak in strength, I can clamp them. See, as an individual, they are weak. But if I join the what you call a couple of what you call the 5 to 6 layers in the what you call by using what you call the roof bolt, right? Basically, so that it will form a composite beam kind of thing, which is of strong enough because they will sustain not only on their own, but also it forms a composite beam, so that the entire beam will become a strong. So here what happens? This theory is called beam theory. Beam theory is nothing but here the all weak layers are joined together will form a strong composite beam, so that there will not be any separation between these layers, right? So such a theory is called beam theory. Here we are getting some beam kind of thing. That's why this theory is called beam theory. And the last one is see here what is beam theory. In beam theory, the immediate weak layers of overlying strata are joined together by roof bolts. What are the weak layers that are present, right? They were joined together by roof bolts. Let me put that. Yeah, they're joined together by roof bolts. That's what it is. They are joined together here. by roof bolts, so that they will form a composite beam. The composite beam so formed is heavier, is having greater strength, and can self-sustain on its own without failure. So that's why what you call self-supporting kind of thing. That's why this theory is called beam theory. Next, the last theory is keying theory. Keying theory is nothing but, let us say, the overlying strata is contain number of what you call the joints kind of thing like this, right? Obviously, due to presence of what you call these what you call weak planes, right? There will be deformation in between among the layers of the strata. So all my job is what using roof bolt. If I what you call resist the movement of the strata along the weak planes, right? So that what you call it won't collapse and there will not be any kind of deformation. So similarly, the same kind of what you call by adopting similar kind of ideology, okay, the keying theory is being proposed. What exactly the keying theory now? In keying theory, the roof bolts are installed against the weak planes of overlying strata. Okay, against the weak planes of overlying strata. There, so that there will not be any displacement along weak planes. There will not be any displacement along weak planes. So that's what it is. Okay. Next, those are three different what you call the theories of roof bolting, based on which what you call the roof bolting is being adopted in underground coal mines. Okay, let us discuss what are the merits of roof bolting. What are the merits of roof bolting? See here, it is simple to apply, less cost, less manpower required for fixing the roof bolting, because single person can do it or a couple of persons can do it easily. Whereas in case of wooden props, right, it requires timbermen to carry the 2 to 3 persons to carry the timber up to the location. And someone has to fix it, and another person has to tighten it. So definitely, it requires what you call more time and labor inside, what you call intensive kind of thing. So when compared to that, right, the roof bolting methodology, like it is simple to apply, less cost, comparatively less cost, okay, and less manpower required for fixing the roof bolting. Okay, next, it gives greater clearance, because it provides a what you call the free movement of machinery, right? There will it won't, because they are what you call fixed into the roof, so it won't become obstacle, right, for any movement along the roadway, right? So that's what it gives, greater clearance in the roadway, which facilitates easy maneuvering of machinery. Okay, next, the hazard due to dislodgement of conventional supports caused by derailed tubs are reduced, because they won't become obstacle for that. Next, they are of what you call very compact roof bolts, so less space is required for their storage. Okay, next, projecting ends can be used for hanging wires and cables, because they are being hanging into the roof, right? So whatever the hanged portion that is there, the what you call the projected portion, right? Projected portion of the roof boards or the clamped portion of the roof board, right? I can pretty much use them for hanging something else, right? Because it's already been fixed into the roof, so I can fix them. So that's what the projecting heads can be used for hanging of wires and cables. Next, stability of boards does not depend on the floor stability, because it's completely being inserted into the roof. Next, these are useful in wide excavation, pit bottom excavations, where all the vertical roof bolts can be used in wider excavations, in roadway junctions, pit bottom excavations, and open stopes in metal mines, and underground engine roofs. Okay, next, handling and transport involved in a conventional support can be eliminated, because they are very compact. It won't require that tedious methodology of transporting, because roof bolts are very compact. They're portable kind of thing, which can be easily carried from one place to another place. So that's what. Next, bolts can be used to secure sides in headings and sinking pits. So they can be, if the sides are collapsing, right? I can simply insert the bolt situated, so that I can fix it. This is called the side roof bolting. So that can be adapted in case of roof bolting. So nowadays, what exactly happening is, all right, because there are certain disadvantages of roof bolting that we'll discuss in the next coming slide. Okay, so demerits of roof bolting. It cannot be applied for all cases, because if the roof is weak, then if the overlying strata is not strong enough, so that like the lower weak planes or the weak layers of the strata can be joined to the upper layers, right? Can be fixed to the upper layers. That is not possible. I cannot use it. Okay, even in case of composite beam, right? Like if all the power beam weak layers put together will form a composite beam, but if they are not sustained on their own, then it is of no use. So that's what actually recent one of the accident we witnessed in one of the Singaporean college mine. So basically there was a huge what you call the roof collapse in a what you call the junction. Basically, they have used in the junction, right, to provide required supports. They have used the roof bolts, and they wanted to widen the roadway. What happened, right? Up to certain extent, what do you call the beam? What are the top layers, weak layers that are present? They form a composite beam. So up to that, it's okay. But the composite beam is not self-sustained kind of thing, okay? Because the entire beam itself completely fall, what you call got sheared off, and they collapse in the junction. So you can think of it, the kind of disaster that took place because of this one. So it is not applicable for all the cases. If it is not self-sustained, right, it is not recommended to use the robotic. Okay. Next, it does not give any warning sign, obviously. Okay. Next, boats are not recovered. Once you use it, right, I cannot take it back. Like what do you call a wooden props or steel props, right? Once what do you call the extraction in a particular panel or in a particular location is over, okay, I can withdraw those supports and reuse them in a different location. Whereas in case of roof bolts, right, once they are installed into the roof, that's it. You cannot take it out. You cannot take them out. So that's what it is. They are not recovered. Next one. Next one more thing is for the installation of roof bolts, right? It requires high skilled person because just like anyone else, any person can go and install the roof bolt just like that. No, it requires some sort of skill set basically, so that like what you call the after insert what you call what are the capsules that we have, right? After inserting those capsules and then we can push the roof bolts and churn it out, and so that like it fits perfectly into that. Then the what you call the corresponding bearing plate and the roof, what you call the nut will be tightened, right? Tightened against the roof. But it requires some sort of what you call highly skilled or the trained person. So an ordinary person cannot perform this operation. So these are the disadvantages of roof bolting, guys. And another disadvantage with the recent, I just wanted to add a few more things here because this is a new advent of new technology basically. What exactly this is? Like in place of roof bolts, nowadays people started using what we call cable bolting. Cable bolting, and in specific, I can say it's called bubble tube cable bolting. Okay, basically, what exactly this is? See, the disadvantage of what we call the normal roof bolting is it is of solid rod, and there is a constraint on the length of the rod. Okay, like whatever I have seen is it is up to a maximum length of 1.5 to 2.5 meters maximum. It won't go beyond that. Suppose if I wanted to clamp, beyond that level, those levels, and up to even more than 4 5 meters deeper level, I wanted to what you call the join these lower layers of the strata. Then what to do now? I cannot use the normal what you call the roof bolting. In such a situation, instead of roof bolts, the cables are being used. Old cables having whose length can be up to what you call 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters, something like that. Okay, and what you call long holes will be drilled into the roof, and what you call the cables are grouted material is being in place, and the what cable is being inserted into that, and it will be tightened against the roof. Now what happened now? You see now the length of grouting or the length of joining of for the overlying strata layers of the strata has been increased drastically. Like we could able to go the composite beam is being formed up to what you call top layers up to a length of what you call 4 5 even 6 meters also. But earlier it was confined to what 1 2 or 3 meters maximum, not more than that. Okay, so even the top to top layers we can fix the lower layers so that there won't be any chance of what you call the deformation or the movement to be among the layers of the strata. Okay, next one, the bubble cable, right? Like some kind of bubbles they have used it. Uh, Bubble nothing but what it calls. I don't have the exact diagram right now. We'll see. Like in next video lecture, I might try to cover that. Bubble is nothing but some kind of what you call the whatever the fiber that is present inside the cable that is being taken out, and the wires strands are taken out. It will form some kind of thing, and what you call whatever the grouting material is there, right? That will be penetrated into the whatever the what you call the empty portion that got created, void that got created inside the cable, so that it will form a perfect grip, okay, between the hole and the rope, so that what do you so that it won't come out of it and you can start carrying the load effectively. So that is what exactly it is. So cable bolting is another one, and that again the further modified version of it is the latest advanced version of it is bubble tube cable bolting. So apart from the normal root bolting, and these are the two what you call the new things that I wanted to cover. Okay, let's move on. Let us discuss. One second. Okay. Now let us discuss the construction details of friction prop. Okay. In the friction prop is also known as kind of yield prop basically. But generally people perception is like friction prop is nothing but they will assume that it's a kind of what you call rigid prop kind of thing. No, friction prop is another type of prop which provides the yield behavior. Yield prop. The yield load depends on the force with the force with which the clamps or wedges are tightened. Okay, because look at here. Anyway, we'll discuss that in the next coming slides. But the clamp load is not same thing as the what you call yield load, because the clamps, there are two telescopic kind of thing here, and those two what you call the telescopic kind of props. Okay, they are tightened together by means of a clamp, by means of a what you call some friction blocks kind of thing. That's why it is called the friction blocks. Okay, look at here. Let me. Yeah. See here, there are two what you call. There are two things. Okay, let me move this here. So up to this, let us say one what you call the outer telescopic kind of thing, and this is the inner telescopic tube. Okay, and these two are joined together by means of, let me choose a different color, by means of some kind of clamps kind of thing. This is one, and this is another clamp here. They're joined here. So these two are joined against because these two are right, and the outer telescope and the inner telescopic kind of props. Okay, joined by means of a clamping kind of thing, and these are tightened. It is something like this. Look at here. These are all tightened. They are tightened by means of clamp. So here, how much load it can bear? It depends on at what force these clamps are being provided, or up to what force or up to what load this clamp can sustain. Okay, without sliding off the inner telescopic tube kind of thing here. So suppose let's say if the load acting on this prop, so it is of something like this. Suppose let's say if the load acting on the prop, it is something like this. Okay, and if the load is what you call if it is exceeding, let's say load acting on this one is let's say some P, capital P. Okay, so now what happened, since the load is acting on this prop is capital P. Now what you call what exactly the value of what you call the yield load? So if it is, there is a grip, it can bear up to a load of P, right? Next one, suppose let's say if the load acting on the prop exceeds its capacity, what happens? In case of what you call rigid props, right? It will fail, it will buckle and it will fail. But in this case, what happens? This what you call the outer telescopic kind of thing, right? So there are two telescopic kind of arrangement here. So the outer one, the inner one, sorry, the inner one is, it will slide inside that. It will move like this, right? It will move like this. Okay, then sliding will take place so that it starts yielding it. So depending on the what you call number of clamps. In this case, this is a single clamp. Look at here. This diagram shows the what you call the friction prop with sitting single clamp. Whereas in this case, the friction prop with what you call the two clamps, because two places it is being provided the friction. The friction has been doubled here. Okay, two different type of clamps have been provided here. So this will offer what you call more resistance, right? And it will be carrying more load because the friction resistance is more. Okay, friction resistance it offers is more, right? So it is simple. Why it is called friction prop? Because here the basic principle of operation of this prop to provide yield behavior. To provide yield behavior is mainly based on what? The coefficient of friction. So because there are two telescopic kind of what you call the arrangement here, okay, and the inner one will these two are tightened by means of some what you call by means of clamping, which contains some friction blocks kind of thing here. When the load acting on it is exceeds its capacity, it will try to slide inside this. Okay, so nothing but Instead of failing, what happened? It is sliding. That is what exactly the yield behavior, right? And another advantage of this one is this can be extended to any height, to a maximum height, right? Because there are two movable kind of thing, and I can simply put a what you call the clamp kind of thing, right? So this prop can also be applicable in case of variable what you call the roadway heights, because in case of wooden props, right, it is a fixed one. If it is of shorter length, if I want shorter length, right, I need to cut it, and if you want the larger length, right, I need to choose another new one, but I cannot join two wooden props together, right? So say here in this case, what happened? The adjustment of the telescopic kind of props, right, that we have, right? I can raise the height or I can decrease the height according to the requirement of the roadway height. So here the yield behavior is being provided by means of the friction that is present between these two telescopic kind of thing. That is why it is called what you call the friction prop. Okay, let's say this is what exactly the construction features of it. Let me clear this. Let's move on to the previous slide. 1 second. Yeah. Back. Right. Okay, see, in the friction type of yield prop, the yield load depends upon the force with which the clamps or wedges are tightened. But the clamping load is not the same as that of yield load. Okay, the load bearing capacity of the prop is the load at which the axially loaded prop reaches its elastic limit, or at which it begins to buckle, it begins to failure, right? So when the load acting it reaches that point, then what happens? Instead of failure, it starts sliding one tube into the another one. So that's what the yield behavior. The early bearing props are yielding props, which accept the maximum load with a minimum yield. Okay, see, this is very important question. What is what is an example? Write an example of early load bearing prop. Generally, it is what the hydraulic prop. Friction prop is not that effective, but hydraulic prop is an example of early load bearing prop. This is one of the what you call the important question from examination point of view. Okay, an early bearing prop, the one which is capable of building up maximum load with a minimum of yield, thus reducing the minimum both convergence and bed suppression, because it's carrying the maximum load, right? Okay, should be used for routine installation on the coal face, while the load bearing prop should be used to stiffen the break off line. So okay, it exerts the resistance with the which continues to increase with the increase in yield. Hydraulic prop is an early load bearing prop. That's what it is. Okay, next, the friction prop rely upon the friction grip between the two members, one telescoping into or sliding against the another. That's what I just explained. Okay, friction prop rely upon the friction grip between two members, one telescoping into or sliding against the other. Okay, let's see. Let's move on. So this is what exactly it is. The inner one and the outer one, these two are clamped here, and here the vertical. The working principle is mainly based on what the friction present between the clamps and the telescopic and inner kind of thing here. Look at here. If two bodies which are held in contact, okay, and one moves with respect to other, so this based on what, this is what exactly known as Newton's second law of motion. So whatever the force that is acting is equal to what, the force into what you call the coefficient of friction into normal reaction, right? This is what the bearing capacity of the prop. So okay, let me go back to the previous slide. 1 second. Look at here. This diagram represents that. This is P, and this is the what you call the corresponding normal reaction here. Let me annotate it here. Because there is a friction grip kind of thing here. So this is what exactly the principle of operation of what they call this one, right? Get here. This is a kind of some block kind of thing here. This is the normal force, and this is the force which is acting vertically downwards. So this is P. So it is something like this, right? You have a block of rock mass. So same thing is being interpreted like this also, right? You have a block of rock mass, and this is your 1 second. This is the force which is acting downward, and this is the what you call the corresponding this one. Okay, sorry, this is the force which is acting like this, and this is what exactly the normal reaction. Okay, yeah, this is the normal reaction. So this is the coefficient of friction here. Let's say what exactly is this? This is a normal reaction. So Newton like second law is what? The force acting on a block of rock mass or on a block is equal to what? Coefficient of friction, because friction always opposes the motion. I'm applying this force, it is trying to what you call, due to friction, right? It won't be moving. So what is this? This must be equal to this, right? So this frictional force is nothing but what? Coefficient of friction multiplied by normal reaction. Exactly the same principle is involved in case of what you call the friction. So in this case, this is P. We choose and these two are the normal. Where's that giant, right? So same principle. How exactly it slides, something like that. Okay. So coefficient of friction and R. So let's move on back to the next slide. There are my diagrams. Look at here. If two bodies held in contact and one moves with respect to another, the force P for just applying for moving the body, P is equal to what? A coefficient of friction multiplied by the normal reaction, where mu is the coefficient of friction and Q is the normal force. If the upper member is held by two friction clamps, as I said, right, a few minutes back, like the clamp could be of one, a single portion. I can clamp to both the telescope, both the membranes or the both parts of friction part, both telescopic kind of thing, or it might sometimes the clamping is being done at two different locations, right? If the upper member is held by two friction clamps, the resistance to sliding, in other words, the bearing capacity of the prop is equal to what? Friction is being offered at two locations, right? So twice that of mu into Q. Okay, Q is the what? Normal force. Okay, in this case, since the friction force is being up, this is very important, guys, from examination point of view, or not only from examination but also from a entrance point of view. We can simply calculate, given these two parameters, right? We can simply calculate the bearing capacity of the prop. Nothing but the coefficient of friction multiplied by the normal reaction. Here the clamps are at two locations. So how much is the capacity now? P is equal to 2 mu into Q, where P can be increased by increasing P or Q or both. So by increasing mu here, see here P can be increased what? By increasing mu, it must be mu, not P. Okay, mu or Q. I can increase this, or I can increase this, or I increase both. Okay, right. In a friction prop, the Q is raised by means of clamp, which is tightened in various ways by compressing the parts of the prop, by using wedge-shaped upper member or the drag wedges, which come into operation. Sorry, as the yield prop, as the prop yields. Okay, when setting the prop, first operation is to extend the prop to the length required in position, because this prop can be adjusted to a variable height of given roadway, right? So that's what it is. So when setting up the prop, first operation is to extend the prop to the length required in the position for setting, and then it is tightened against the roof, okay, or bar, by setting a wedge or clamp attached to the prop for this purpose. The clamp is then tightened up and the setting device is removed. That's how it is. So the whatever the telescopic kind of there, that is being what you call the raised up to the required height, and then the what you call the corresponding friction block is being placed between these two movable parts of it, and then it will be what you call tightened using a clamping kind of thing. So once it is tightened, we can remove the what you call attachment devices, so that the friction prop will be in place. Okay. Next one. I'll discuss the remaining portion in the next video. I'll try to cover the remaining part in the next video. Thank you.